All right, so what I'm gonna do is break it down to 9 things that I've just kind of observed over the past few years that really just drove me crazy and could maybe halt you from moving here. Number 1, the last one on the list, is gonna probably be the biggest one that always gets brought up, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But before we get started, what's up? I'm Tony with Your Real Estate Fam, and my team and I are your #1 relocation team in all of Lower Alabama. If this is your first time visiting our channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you tap that little bell to be notified of each and every video. We like to dive into everything there is about living in Mobile and the surrounding areas of Lower Alabama. So if you're thinking about moving to the area, make sure you give us a call or shoot us a text or send us an email. Now, we'll kick it off with number 9 on the list. And this is one of the obvious ones, which is the heat and humidity. I'll be brutally honest with you. It's the beginning of March and we're already getting muggy days. It's only reaching high 70s, but if you're in that sun for a few hours, I promise you'll feel it. Just ask my kids who I had out with me in the yard this past weekend.
I'm baking like a toasted cheese here. It's so hot here.
They were all red in the face from just a few short hours, and they're lucky because that was with overcast and clouds that came in. It's just what happens here in Lower Alabama. If you're from the South, like South Florida, I'd say you're probably used to it, but we have clients coming in from all other parts of the country like Tulsa and Arizona, and the first thing they say is, wow, Tony, I really didn't think it got this hot and humid in the winter months. And I tell them, it's not always like this, but it has been some really incredible weather lately. But what I want to talk about is the negative aspect. I don't always like to sugarcoat things, and that said, it gets hot as hell here. And the first time we moved down here, our freshman was in 4th grade, okay? And all I remember is coaching her in the softball field and her just dripping sweat with her tongue hanging halfway out of her head. And fortunately, she's acclimated now. But boy, was it funny to see at first. Kids catch on quick though. If they're out in that heat, they start listening and understand why coach or mom and dad say to hydrate, especially in those summer months. So if you're those people coming from somewhere that's a lot colder, especially during those winter months, it might be a shock for you. You don't get those really cold months that shock the system. And I know some people who like that or they look forward to it. I personally don't, but one way to describe the summers here and the humidity is like opening an oven at 425 degrees and then putting your head halfway in it to grab a pan. That's the kind of heat I'm talking about. You know what I mean? It's like that. The thing I've noticed after living here, especially over the years, is that the heat is really concentrated during July through September. Just real brutal humidity. And that's when I hear people whine the most. To me, I love it. You can really feel the difference in the air, but not everyone's the same. And you should have seen me in Chicago. I would shiver like a chihuahua in the winter months. So I get it. If you're the type of person who's gonna miss the snow or hunting in the cold where you can't feel your fingers, or snowboarding and skiing, then maybe this isn't the place for you. Unless you can travel to do that come wintertime. One thing I really do miss though is ice fishing. I used to set up a shanty, bring some music, some beer, and next thing you know, the weekend was over. But if you've never had that, then you can't miss what you never had, right? I just know my kids are super grateful that they're not stuck inside of the house 70% of the year, because even though we have brutally hot summers, they don't mind that, especially compared to the cold winters and the rest of the year, because it's freaking gorgeous. On to number 8. One of the other big things we hear are the bugs. Everybody's always researching the bugs here in Alabama, and they're the real deal. I know Jess will tell you the first time we move down here, or when we move into a new property for the first time, we'll for sure see some bugs. And don't take these words and misconstrue them, but the bugs, especially cockroaches, they are here. They're kind of these nasty little boogers. You can see them in newer houses that are just vacant, or if you don't keep up with them. So we've learned to spray and mitigate. In fact, we pay the Aero Exterminator Rich, and he comes once a month or whenever we need him actually, and he just sprays the stuff that smells like maple syrup around the edges of the outside of our house and the inside, and you'll never see him again. And another thing we get service for is fire ants, because those little suckers bite. And if you have little ones, you know, little guys, you'll thank me, because if you get bit, bless your heart, it'll be bad for weeks for y'all.
Holy cow. Ow, ow, ow. Oh! I gotta stop. Ah, my hands are on fire right now.
Now, we get mosquitoes too, and I know everyone's used to getting mosquitoes because they're all over the place, but we also get no-see-ums. And these little guys are real tiny, hence the name no-see-um. Don't ask me what they're really called, but these little shits bite too, and this is what really bothers me. They actually bother me so much that I broke down and I bought an enclosure for my back patio, and it's just a screen because I feel they're worse than mosquitoes. Not that they bite harder or they're worse in that way. I just mean because they're so annoying. So if you're not a fan of mosquitoes or you're O positive like my wife Jess, then you might get bit more than average, or maybe it's just her. I really have no idea. All I know is our clients really appreciate the little things, like the tips on how to combat these little guys, like the thermocells. That's something you can find on Amazon for like 20 bucks. And it's these little repellers or repellents. I don't know what they're called really. It's these little boxes that just have little blue discs, and they heat up these bad boys, and the next thing you know, they're gone. You don't smell it, you don't hear it, nothing. It just sits there. I actually put them in my hunting stands and my blinds, and if they can work out there, then they should have no problem in your backyard. So if bugs, mosquitoes, that kind of thing drives you crazy, I probably wouldn't be moving to Mobile or Lower Alabama in general, but they can be mitigated for sure. Number 7, if you can't stand small cities, don't come. I mean, some of these cities here around Mobile, some of these like suburbs outside of the Mobile area are going to be these teeny tiny places you've never heard of before. I moved from a big metro area, not just your Denver or St. Louis or Indianapolis. We're talking a world-class city, and it's night and day compared to little old Mobile, Alabama. And that's what some people hate about it here. There's not a lot of jobs here compared to those metro areas I was just talking about, and there's not a whole lot to do if we compare it to those other areas. And yes, you can still go to the Airport Boulevard for that city feel, or to downtown Mobile on Dolphin Street where you have restaurants and bars, and there's crime here too, just like any other metro area. But the difference here is that there's always a parade or festival of some kind going on, and not to mention we have the world's best beaches. But some people want the nightclubs and the city that doesn't sleep, not just cute little boutiques and a few bars and some quaint downtown area. Here you're gonna almost have this small town feel where you reside, and going to another city and suburb outside of Mobile can sometimes take you up to an hour or more. So you just have to realize when you come to Mobile, at least most of the time, you look at Mobile on the map and that's where you're looking to move. And it usually doesn't end up that way. It's usually one of the cities or suburbs on the outskirts. So understanding your lifestyle, what you need to be close to, what school district you want to be in, whatever the case may be, that's going to be pivotal when moving to Alabama, or Mobile especially. Just trying to pick a spot is going to be one of the most difficult things to do. We know, we've done it twice, and that's why we started this YouTube channel, so we can help everybody who's thinking about moving here. You call us, we have those conversations. What's your lifestyle? Why are you moving here? What do you got to be close to? What do you like to do? And after we find all that out, more than likely we know a few areas you've probably never even heard of. Then we'll take you on tours and showcase the said areas, because it's going to be a feeling thing. When you know, you just kind of know. You can tell when something's meant to be, and we can't help without y'all letting us know. So shoot us an email, even if you're a little ways out, to get that ball rolling. But if you miss that large city life where you just jump on the train or subway to get to your destination, then you don't want to be in Sweet Home Mobile, Alabama.
Sweet home Alabama.
Number 6. One thing I'm sure if you haven't heard from other people, or if you haven't watched the news, are hurricanes and tropical storms, because we're right on the Gulf Coast. I mean, and if that terrifies you, just understand it's the real deal here. Every summer you get at least a warning. Sally hit us a few years back, but Ian hit Florida, Harvey hit Texas and Louisiana not too long ago. And if it hits, it's the real deal. Hurricanes travel 60, 70, 80 miles an hour sometimes more. So when they come through, they blast everything in its path, so it can happen, and it floods, but that's part of living on the Gulf Coast. So if hurricanes are something that just absolutely terrify you, then Alabama may not be your jam. But I need y'all to understand, it is a real thing, even though it doesn't come through here as often as Florida and Louisiana or Texas, like I was just mentioning. And if you decide to come down, make sure you prepare for it. Get some water, some supplies, you know, generator beforehand, get some gas, probably not a bad idea to run things, you know, you absolutely need in your house, just little stuff like that. And if you're like my better half, then you'll want to invite all the neighbors over and all your friends just to spend time with them, because everything will shut down. It's not like when you get a bad snowstorm and you still have to show up to work. Here, you shut down the schools, work, stores, you name it. So for real, be prepared for the worst, and also be prepared to have a hurricane party too. Now, number 5 is a big reason I made the move when I was scouting areas, and I said to myself, if you can't stand friendly people, this isn't the place for you. And I'm being serious about this. If you don't like people always asking you, hey, how you doing? Or stopping you in the streets to talk about your YouTube channel, or in line at the grocery store because they just want to see the baby and take a peek, or your neighbors constantly stopping by, then you're not gonna like Alabama. This is the deep South, and this is still how people are. They're just friendly. And honestly, they're just willing to do things for you. For us, it's a breath of fresh air, but if you're the type of person who will pretend to be on the phone and to walk away from someone, then I promise you, you will not like it here. And you're gonna notice it when people come down. People are friendly. They ask you how you're doing and genuinely stop to listen. I love that. Now, don't get me wrong, you might run into a few people who aren't like that, but you can tell right away they don't embrace that true Southern lifestyle. Honestly, that's actually probably the number 1 reason we moved down here. We love entertaining, and this is an entertainer's dream. You're always having people over to cook out or jump in the pool or even hang out in the driveway or in the garage. It's a real thing here. So if you're the type of person who's gonna run to your car or into the house so you don't see them, you're gonna realize this might not be the right place for you. Okay, that was number 5, and we got a few more here. So if you're enjoying these videos and they've helped you, please comment down below. Or if you wanna know things that we haven't covered, let us know so we can shoot more videos on those topics and throw them in the mix. All right, so we have 4 more. If you can't handle paying 10% in sales taxes, then Mobile or Lower Alabama in general is definitely not for you. If you haven't heard, sales tax is expensive here. It's for real. That is actually one thing that drives me nuts. To have the same sales tax as Chicago is just crazy to me. Why do we have such high sales tax here? I'm not sure why we do, but we do. And I tell myself all the time, I'd be paying that anyways, but now I have super low property taxes, affordable housing prices, and where you don't have to sell a kidney to purchase a house in general. And if you're retired, then you have great benefits where the state doesn't take everything from you. So that's something I guess I get to look forward to. At the end of the day, I'd say we're winning because of all those low costs that I just named in general, but if you want to have best of both worlds and a cheap cost of living and no sales tax, I always tell our clients, go to Pensacola Beach, then when you're done, run to the store and stock up at the store or whatever before you come home. Now, if none of that sounds appealing to you and high sales taxes drive you crazy, then, you know, don't move to Mobile. It'll eat you up and make you mad all the time, and we don't want that down here. So number 3 on the list is that if you really need the mountains, then don't move to Mobile or Lower Alabama in general, because there's really no mountains down here, and the closest thing you're gonna get is going northwest or northeast of Mobile, and it's just hills that are close by. Definitely no mountain views here. So if you're used to North Idaho or Colorado Rockies and 6,000 foot tall mountains where you oversee the world, then I hope you have enough mental pictures, because you're not gonna get anything remotely close to that here. And yeah, Northern Alabama has some pretty views, but they don't have the views like I just mentioned. So be prepared. What you need to do is enjoy the beauty and the mystique of the deep South and what we have to offer, like the large pines and those mystique live oaks and magnolias, or the waterways and the bayous and everything that's green, like really green, unmistakably green, everywhere. Or maybe you're used to cornfields in the middle of Illinois and Indiana or Idaho. And if that's the case, I feel your pain personally. Just leave now. You're not a tree, you can move. But I'm just messing with those Midwesterners. I know it's flat, like you can see your dog running away for 2 weeks type of flat, and I'm an advocate for you. No one deserves that type of lifestyle, so if you want to be somewhere that has lakes and rivers and bays and bayous and of course the Gulf of Mexico, then come on down where you can enjoy water sports or go fishing more than 3 months out of the year. Honestly, that's something I truly enjoy, and I'm not just messing around. Just getting out, being an outdoor enthusiast, being able to hunt and fish, within minutes I can be in the middle of nowhere. But wait, that's not all. There's so much to do here, and they do such a great job on the hiking trails and the parks here too. The Branyan Backcountry Trail just won an award for the top recreational trail in the country. And yes, that's in Gulf Shores, but nearly any direction you go, you can really get lost in a good way where you can just enjoy life in the outdoors. Now, on to number 2, fast service or limited service in general. So coming from Chicago, we're used to pretty quick service, no matter where we're at. It was the city on the go, and people want to be in and out. They had a lot of heads to go through, so I get it. No matter if it was a doctor's office, the grocery store, a car wash, you name it. You were rushed through like cattle, and that was just the norm. So if you want that fast go, go, go lifestyle, Mobile is definitely not the place to be, and don't think you'd come here and just try to change everybody's mindset either, because those are the type of people who end up hate living here or are hated by everybody else living here because you're trying to change their lifestyle. And I couldn't agree more. This isn't Los Angeles, this is lower Alabama, LA, and y'all shouldn't mess with our southern roots. Learn to embrace that slower pace of life and just go with the flow. I remember flying into Mobile for the very first time, and we're at the register of the rental place at the airport, and the lady who was taking care of us, she noticed we were not from around here. I think she noticed our accents or lack thereof, and she started talking to us and where we were from, what we're doing, and the next thing you know, it's 20 minutes later, and there's this huge line behind us. And I keep going like this. And we can't stop looking back like that because we're anxious. We're like, oh my God, what is happening? Because remember, we're used to go, 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 always being rushed and thinking everyone else is on the same page as us, wondering like, what are they doing up there? But they weren't. They were as cool as a cucumber. But it's that chill lifestyle. I mean, I don't know. Imagine Southern hospitality meets beach life, and that's what you got. Now, if that doesn't sound magical in its own little way, then I promise you, this is not the place for you. We're moving on to number 1. The number 1 reason not to move here is the lack of food options in Mobile. Now, this isn't to say we don't have some amazing food and some great options, but if you're used to having more options than you can think of, I promise you, you won't find that here. You don't have a Chinatown, you don't have Polish communities where they make homemade pierogies or German towns. In fact, the most German I've seen here is the Loda Beer Garden, and it's just a bar with a German name and a huge beer selection with a bunch of American food. Now, that's not to say you can't find a restaurant that serves schnitzels, but you're not gonna have a variety, and that's for sure. In fact, I think the best Mexican food here is right in my kitchen. Now, that's not to say we don't have good Mexican restaurants, but you're not gonna have a lot to choose from. And I've yet to find a place that serves arrachera tacos, which is my absolute favorite, which is skirt steak. It's different from regular steak, trust me, it is. And to add to that, I haven't found a good Cuban or Puerto Rican or Spanish dining, but you do have a couple Latin American spots, so like I said, it has a few options. Just don't expect a ton of choices. And if you've heard me say the opposite before, it's because we really do have a great selection. The seafood is by far some of the best on the Gulf Coast. And like I said before, some of my favorite restaurants are in Mobile. If y'all haven't checked out Noja and Noble South, please go try them out. I always try to tell you guys about local owned places before those chains in town. I mean, the chains are everywhere and they're good in a pinch, but if you enjoy good food and the entire experience, you'll definitely want to try those out. And who doesn't love to support local? And that being said, these are the 9 reasons not to move to Mobile. And if you can't take those, I'd recommend looking somewhere else. But if you can, and LA is your jam, that's what we do. We absolutely love helping people. So reach out, because now we can unearth why you're moving here, the lifestyle, what you need, the things you want to be close to, and we can find the place that's right for you. Because at the end of the day, the one thing that's going to make living in Lower Alabama hell is if you move to the wrong area. Then you're going to want to leave. But if you find the right spot it can be a magical place, just like we preach. We're planting our roots here, we're raising our family here, and that's where we want to help you. And the only way we can do that is you got to reach out, you got to give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Days, nights, weekends, we got your back when moving anywhere in Mobile, Alabama. Until the next video, we'll see you guys later.